Formula 2 this race weekend at Bahrain was very impressive. It was really good to see Zane Maloney pick up 2 wins in the first 2 races. We also saw some glimpses of what Antonelli is capable of, but we did see some struggles from the Prema team. Shall we now get into a look at the Formula 2 race weekend and make some post-race reviews? So, as you can see here, we saw at the weekend, Kush Maini led Invicta Racing to a 1-2 within qualifying. Now, the problem then came after qualifying. After qualifying, it was found that Kush Maini's car was in breach of a regulation. This then led to him being disqualified from the session. This then meant that Kush Maini was no longer on pole position, and his radio message of, "My name's Jeff," disappeared from the world. Now, it didn't really disappear from the world. You can go and find it if you want to. It was on the Formula 2 channels, and Kush Maini will be disappointed with the result. Now, obviously, it wasn't his fault. It was just the fault of the car, the team. Like, he can't really be blamed for it, in my opinion. This then led to Gabriele Bortoleto sitting on pole position. If you are interested in Formula racing, whether that be Formula 1 or Formula 2, make sure you hit that subscribe button, because we're going to be staying tuned to all the Formula 1 races, all the Formula 2 races, and we're going to be doing previews and reviews of each weekend. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. We're trying to hit 300 by the end of April, and I know that you can help. Hit that button down below or in this top corner, and I'll catch you at the end of the video. Heading into the sprint race. Now, the sprint race then ended up, there was a tight accident early on in the race, which led to a few cars being taken out of the race. But it also led to seeing Zane Maloney take his first win this season in that race. Now, both the Prema drivers of Antonelli and Bearman struggled to really make an impact in the feature race and the sprint race, to be completely honest. The Prema really struggled around this circuit, but is this a case of the new Formula 2 car changing up the order of what we've previously known, or are Prema going to come back? That's the real question, because Kimi Antonelli was given this seat, skipping Formula 3, so that he could potentially find himself in the Mercedes car or even the Williams or in a Formula 1 seat next season. But if he's not able to show the fact that he can win races, or if he's not got a competitive car this season, then he's really going to struggle to show what he's truly capable of. And that's obviously going to mean that Toto Wolff might look elsewhere, James Vowles might not want to take him on, and that's something which has to be taken into account. You've also got to look at Ollie Bearman. He's obviously hoping to find himself a seat in Formula 1 next season. I believe he's got 6 practice sessions with Haas this season, which obviously is going to be mega important for him in his development following the season. But shall we now take a look at the sprint race, how the grid finished, and any major players? We skip on over here to look at the finishing order, and as you can see, Zane Maloney finished 5 seconds ahead of his next competitor. Now, he was mega impressive in this race, and I think we saw a lot from Zane Maloney. I think he's trying to prove himself for a Formula 1 seat. Hopefully he can keep himself in the battle. Jack Crawford finishing P2 with Pepe Marti in P3. Isaac Hadjar seemed to have a decent race in my opinion, and Paul Aron, he showed up really well this weekend. Unfortunately for Bortoleto, he slipped down the order, but Zach O'Sullivan in his ART found himself in 7th. Dennis Hauger, former Red Bull, I'm not sure if he's still at Red Bull. Dennis Hauger put it into P8. Ritomo Miata gave a good show of himself in his first Formula 2 race, finishing in P9. Richard Verschoor in the Trident found P10. And the Alpine, well, it's not an Alpine, it's an ART, but the Alpine junior driver of Victor Martins was P11. Juan Correa, P12. Kush Maini got himself back into 12th position. And if we just scroll down, you can see that Kimi Antonelli was P14. He did beat his teammate Oliver Bearman, who finished in P16. And then you had Joshua Dirksen in P15. Fittipaldi in 17th. Franco Colapinto in 18th and Villa Gomez in 19th. Now, as I previously mentioned about the sprint race, there was a few incidents early on which caused a few problems for drivers, and it was a bit disappointing not really to be able to see a proper glimpse of Kimi Antonelli, but it did give us something to cheer for in the next race, in the feature race where there was a safety car period, and he came out of the safety car period and overtook a bunch of cars, got himself quite high up the grid where his teammate just kept going backwards and backwards. Now, Kimi did pick up his first point in Formula 2 within that race. Shall we take a look now at the finishing order, and let's make some predictions for the upcoming race in Jeddah. So here again, we take a look at the finish result for the feature race in Bahrain. Zane Maloney again finishing nearly 5 seconds ahead of his closest competitor, which ended up being Pepe Marti. Aron found himself in P3, getting on the podium. Now, he was recently released by Mercedes' junior program, so he'll be delighted to put himself in P3 in that high-tech. Zach O'Sullivan ended up in P4. I believe it was Gabriel Bortoletto who was on an alternate strategy, and he wasn't quite able to make it work, but he ended up finishing in P5. Franco Colapinto found himself in P6. Kush Maini in his Invicta Racing put it in P7. Dennis Hauger in P8. Ritomo Miata found himself in P9. Kimi Antonelli put it into P10, collecting the first point for Prema and his first point this season. And if we just scroll down here, you've got Joshua Dirksen in P11. You've got Villa Gomez in P12, Roman Stanek in P13, Richard Verschoor in P14, Oliver Bearman in P15, and Taylor Barnard in P16, sorry, not 17. Obviously, I think a lot of people are hoping that the Premas can bring their performance back to the front of the grid, because everybody wants to see that battle between Kimi, between Aron, between Zane Maloney. Everyone wants to see this battle in this season. Hopefully they can find themselves back to the front for Jeddah. But that race kicks off in just a few days. My preview is coming out this afternoon, so make sure you stay tuned to the channel and subscribe to keep up to date with that. Now, my prediction for the Jeddah F2 is, I think that we're going to see a surprise pole. I think Aron is going to put it on pole. And I think we're going to potentially see a podium of Dennis Hauger, Pepe Marti and Zane Maloney. I think that's going to be the podium for either race. We're just going to go with it and see what happens. Make sure you do subscribe to the channel to stay tuned for all videos like this, whether it be Formula 1 or Formula 2. I do also make content on Derby County Football Team. If you are interested in that, make sure you check that out too. And I'll catch you in the next video. Make sure to go and find me on TikTok, pictured here, and Twitter, pictured here. These are the places where I'll keep you all up to date with all my upcoming videos and my thoughts and feelings around the Formula 1 and football weekend.